I want to take just a few moments to do a quick review of the Lenovo w540. This is the newest version of their workstation laptops. See here, this is my standard laptop that I use. This is a w530, which in my opinion is a pretty solid workstation laptop. It definitely has its flaws, but I don't think any computer out there would be perfect. But I've looked a lot, and I just didn't see a lot of reviews for the w540, so I want to take a moment and just give my impressions. I will be perfectly honest right off the bat. My impressions are not positive, and we are actually going to be returning. We bought 3 of them of 3 different configurations, everything from a fairly baseline model to a high-end pre-configured with 32 gigs of RAM and 500 gig SSD. So just kind of give us a chance to really test it out. And it definitely seems like the w540 is built to a price, and that's not a good thing for a workstation. When you're spending $2,500 to $3,000 on a laptop, you kind of want you want to get what you pay for, and I definitely feel like I got that more with the 530 more than the 540. So a couple of things that really I don't like about it. First and foremost, there's no indicator lights. If you look here, you can see I currently don't have it on. I don't even have a battery in it. I actually had it packaged to ship back, but I thought I'd take a moment to record this video. There are no indicator lights. So if I go over to my 530, I have a hard drive indicator, I have a Wi-Fi indicator, and so that way, if you're troubleshooting or working on something and your laptop's hung, but the hard drive's still going, you can just give it a little bit longer. Maybe it'll work through whatever it's processing. You don't have anything like that on the 540. So if you're just sitting there hung and your laptop's just frozen, you don't know if you should power it down, if you should wait a little bit longer. So that's kind of a minus. Second thing is on the 540, you do not have any dedicated hardware buttons for volume and mute and things like that. So everything is a function key. That includes the Wi-Fi switch, where with the 530 you have a dedicated hardware switch. That way, again, if you're troubleshooting or anything like that, you can physically turn it off, or with this it's a software based. If you're having software issues and you don't know if it's really on or off or whatever, so don't like that. Also, one of my biggest gripes, I'll go back over to my 530 here because it's powered on. If I hit the caps lock button, the only indication I have that my caps lock is on is this little black box here. You see caps lock off, caps lock on. And when my caps lock is on, that's always on, which when you're using caps lock isn't that big a deal, right? Well, the 530 does not have a numpad. You get a pair of speakers on either side of the keyboard versus the 540, which does have a numpad. But if you turn the numpad on, you get that same box here, and it stays on the entire time you have your numpad on. So if you're someone like me, where on my external keyboard I always have my num lock on, and then I have a little blue light letting me know that it's on. I don't have any indication on the screen that it's on, and that would get really annoying really quick. Especially if you're doing any kind of data entry or anything where you're using that that num lock. That's unacceptable to me, to not have a hardware light. Next thing is a trackpad. The whole thing is clickable, every piece of it. So when you're moving your finger along, it's real easy to accidentally click on something if you just give it's real soft touch, and so you don't have to give it much pressure before you've clicked. That's really annoying. Also, this is left click, 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 this is left click. Right here maybe I think is right click, and right here is right click. You have to be very specific on where you click for your right click, and left click is just the whole thing. And it's super sensitive. There's no way that I found to turn it off. I know on like HP computers, just about every other laptop I've had, you could turn off the touchpad, so that way, you know, especially with it being so large, if you're typing, you know, I have my keys on the home row, well, my thumb is half covering the touchpad, so you're constantly having to, you know, you're constantly moving your mouse around, you're accidentally clicking, you know, it's just a very frustrating touchpad. The one for the 530, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it definitely is a superior touchpad. Even though it's smaller, you know, it's still a multi-gesture. You can scroll with 2 fingers, you can zoom in and out. So it's still a multi-touch touchpad, but because it's smaller, because the buttons are separate, and you don't have that same problem. I have my hands on the home keys here. You know, my hand isn't, it's not really touching it. You know, my thumb, you kind of can see, is hovering over it, so I'm not touching it. Where with the 540, you know, my hand is really touching it, and that's just really not. It's really frustrating. So it really makes this an unusable piece, and you can't turn it off as far as I'm aware. A couple other things. When I pulled it out of the box, we had it come with Windows 7 Professional, and I updated Windows and it crashed. So I refreshed it, started over, and updated Windows again, and it crashed again. To a point where it was, you know, I couldn't shut it down, I couldn't boot it up, it was no longer functioning. So I installed Windows 8 that came with the recovery disk, and it would not update to Windows 8.1. So again, I don't know if there's driver issues or what. It wasn't worth the headache trying to find out. I send these out to our sales force, who are all over the world. I'm in Arizona, but I have people ranging from Japan to Texas to the UK. So having something that can't even do a Windows update out of the box without crashing, I just don't have the time to troubleshoot and figure out what's going on there. I would believe that Lenovo would fix that after, you know, an update or two, but still, just out of the box, can't do Windows updates, kind of unacceptable. A couple things I do like about it. It does have a backlit keyboard. I do like the 15.6-inch screens with the numpad. My personal home computer has that, and I do use my numpad a lot. Some people don't like it. I do, and that's really about it. It's thinner than the 530, barely. Not any lighter though. They just repackaged things, I guess, so they could flatten it out. So we definitely are going to be looking at the competitions. We're looking instead at the ZBooks from HP and the Dell M4800 and possibly a 3800. So those seem like the most competent replacements from what we've seen. Oh, and just close this and turn it upside down. This panel here, which has your memory units and your hard drive under it, when you take this off, it's extremely flimsy. On one of my other laptops, in trying to replace it, it broke with almost no pressure. So I actually had to buy a replacement so I can then ship them back. So, you know, this is a terrible design. It's really thin plastic. There's no support, no metal support to it at all. So be very careful if you do get this laptop, which I don't recommend doing. Be very careful with these back panels. They're soft, cheap plastic. So thought I'd throw that out there as the last piece. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment down below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.